Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I think we're going to have a blast learning how to make these really super cute banners. Last year I made my grandchildren, they're twins, I made them Mickey and Minnie quilts. And for Halloween this year I made them Disney banners. And so I thought I'd carry the same thing along and make them a banner for their house that has Disney characters as well. So join me, let's get started. You're gonna love this, I think. Okay, as you can see, this is my working page, and I'm gonna start here with you just to show you what I've done is I've made these three different foldable actually banners, right, with the holes in it. And I wanted mine to be double-sided so it'd be really nice and thick and sturdy and have some weight to it so it hangs beautifully, as you could see in that picture above my fireplace. But anyway, the stuff that I used, the cardstock is called Park Lane, and I'll have a link for it for you down below. I think it's from Joann's. But it's fabulous. I believe it's 110-pound weight, solid core. It's 8.5 by 11, which works perfectly on my portrait that you know I love by Cameo, by Silhouette. And there's 100 sheets that came in this package. What I really love about this stuff is it's so heavy and thick and solid core, so there's no white showing through. So that's how I made these right here. Now, I didn't have a pattern for these. We can make these ourselves in Silhouette. All I did was come up here to the rectangle or the shape tool, the drawing tools, and I grabbed the rectangle tool, and then I just came over here, and by the way, I did make it black right here because that's the color I'm using for my banners. So I knew about how big I wanted my banner to be. You can make yours any size you like. I'll just continue making mine the way I did so you can see how I did mine. I wanted it to be about 2.5 inches wide, so I unlocked the lock and I changed this to 2.5 and hit enter. And then I wanted each half to be about 4.5 inches wide or high, so I'll change this to 4.5. I am going to have to adjust that once I make the point of this thing. So there's this. Now the next thing I needed to do was I needed to make the point. As you can see right here, I want to make the point. So I'm just going to come over here and double click on this, and just midway between here I'm going to eyeball it. I'm going to put a point and just drag that down like that and just pretty much eyeball it. Now if I want to be really precise, what I can do is click on this image, and remember, we've done this before. You guys remember this? We go to the X up here and we change it to the 0 position and hit enter, and see what that did? It popped that image right over to the left. Then I can go to the Y position, hit 0 and enter, right up there to the left. Okay, now I can get a line and draw a line, and I'm going to make sure I up the point size of it so we can really see it. Change it to a good black color, and then I'm going to take this thing and click on it, and again I'm going to I can make its Y position, which is how far up and down it is. See right here, it goes above the top. If I make that to a 0, you're not going to see anything at the top anymore, and hit enter. But what I'm most concerned about is the X position, because that is how far over from the middle it's going to be. Now, our image is 2.5 inches wide. I want this line to be in the halfway point, so that would be 1.25. So I'm going to change the X position to 1.25 and hit enter. And now I know that line is in exactly the spot it needs to be for the center, and you can see my point was a little bit off. So I can easily fix that now by double clicking on this, and see that little node that pops back up? Scroll a little further. You guys can see that, right? Let me know in the comments if you can see what I'm doing well. I'm just moving that right over there to the middle. So let's scroll back out And now that should be perfect. So this thing here should still be at the 0, 0 position for the X and Y coordinates. And now I no longer need this line. That was just to help me make sure my point was correct. So I can just delete it. All right. So far what we have is this. Now, I notice now that it's a little longer than what I wanted it to be, right? Remember, I wanted it to be 4.5 inches high, and the reason why I changed was when I dragged that point down. So I'm going to change my height back to 4.5 inches and hit enter, and that is perfect. Okay, but you might be thinking, you know what? I wanted one up above and one below, right? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to come over here and change this. No, I'm not going to change that color. I'm going to come over here first and get the drawing tools. I'm going to get the draw ellipse. And now I'm going to draw a little teeny tiny circle by holding down my shift key just like that. I'm going to change its color to white so I can see it more easily, or maybe a gray so we can see it on the mat here. And I'll check it to see, is it about the same size? Yeah, it's about the same size, maybe a hair bit bigger. I could just bring it a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is bring this guy here, hold down my Alt key, and drag another one over here. So I pretty much want them to be the same distance approximately away from the edge. I just eyeballed that. Y'all can measure that if you like to. One thing I did want to make sure of though was that they were at the same distance from the top of this. So I'm going to click on one, hold down my shift key, click on the other, come up here to the alignment tool and say align bottom. Okay, so they're perfectly aligned with each other now. This one, I can actually go ahead and grab both of them. And also, I grabbed them both by holding down my shift key, held down my shift key as well, and then grabbed the shape, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those right out of there. I'm going to subtract them right out. Y'all know where I'm going next, right? Yep, right over here to the modify panel, and I'm going to say subtract. So what that did was it cut those guys right out of there. Okay, but as you'll notice, I have one up above the other because I wanted mine two-sided because it makes it hang and drape so nicely to have that extra little weight. So what I did was simple. Anybody know where I'm going to go next? Okay, if you guys guessed that I'm going to go to the replicate panel over here, you were right. The replicate panel. To me, it looks like a flying cigar. I don't know where I come up with these ideas, but it does. So I'm going to click on that. Now, with my shape selected, I'm just going to say mirror, not below, but above, right like that. Perfect. Now we have a perfect image. I'm going to grab both of these and just say weld. And now we have a perfect piece right here. And as I said, or maybe I did not say to you guys yet, you don't really need to have a score line here because honestly, you can tell where to fold it. So what I need to do before I can weld these, I'm going to ungroup them, is I need to move one of these down just ever so slightly, maybe one dot. Let's see if that'll work on my arrow down key. And now let's weld these. And let's just go to send and see if that was enough. It certainly was. Look, there's no longer a line here, a cut line. That's all we needed to do. So again, let me refresh your memory on that one. Let me undo. So we had two separate pieces. Let me ungroup. Well, let's go back. Okay, so we have these two pieces, right? Put them together. If I try to weld them without moving one of them a little bit closer, they won't weld. I'm just going to click on, whoops, don't need to move it. Click on the top one, hit the down arrow on my keyboard one time. That's all I need to do. Then grab both of these and say weld. And when we go to send, you'll see it is going to cut all around the outside edge of this and these 4 circles out perfectly. So that's all you have to do for making these pieces. And what I discovered was 3 of them will fit easily on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Just like that, right? And you don't need to put on the registration marks because you're just going to cut this out of black cardstock. You certainly don't want to print all that. All right, so after we're done with this, then I'll just leave one over here so we can get the idea. All right, so let's just use the letter S. And I'll just show you with a couple of these how, or just with one, you'll get the idea. I'm going to draw out or print out the letter S. Come over here to the text tool. Come over here and type out S. I want it to be capital letter. I'm going to hold down my shift key and say S. Click off and then click back on, and I'm going to come over here to the text tool, the text style panel on the right, and I'm going to click Impact. Impact. That's in a font I most recently used, Impact. I tried Freshman, I tried Impact, I tried Chunk 5, and I still liked Impact the best. So I did that. So now I'm going to just make this a lot bigger. And before it's a little too large, but that's okay. We're just going to work with this. Before I do anything else with this, I'm going to right click and say Convert to Path. After I do that, I'm going to hold down my Alt key and drag another one over. You'll need this one in a few minutes. So now what I'm going to do is show you where I got all these little images. So follow me over here to Clip Art Library. And I'm going to search for Disney Christmas, because that's what I wanted to use. And so then I can just begin looking at all of these Disney Christmas things that are available. I mean, there are 10 pages of them, right? Surely you can find a lot of stuff in here that you would like. I don't think I did this one at all. Let's look at this one. Sometimes they open up weird like this, and I don't understand why. But this one here, you do not want to download where it says right here, because that's an advertisement. Scroll on down to where it says download. And now, if you'll notice, when I download, it downloads in my Windows machine right down here on the lower left-hand corner. Okay, but I don't really need to worry too much about that. I'll download another one just to show you. Let's pretend, how about we want, let's go on to another page, the second page. Let's pretend like I want this little baby Mickey, or Minnie, I guess it's Minnie. So I'm going to click on that, and now it comes up like this again, weirdly. Sometimes it's not always going to come up like this. You'll just have to figure it out. Remember, don't download this. Scroll down till you see the red ones here, and then download, and you'll see it's downloading right here on the left-hand side of my screen. So let's go back now to Silhouette. So what I would do is this. Let's, I'm sorry I have a bunch of junk in the way here. Maybe I should delete some of this so it's not so confusing to you. Looking at all this extra stuff. I can just move these guys out of the way. Okay, so that's probably pretty good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and Merge. And I'm just going to merge one at a time. If I wanted to do more than one at a time, and I've been asked this before, the way that you can do more than one at a time is if you get to the File Explorer app, File Explorer, and you open that. Then you come to your downloads, and you kind of minimize this down. Now I'll be able to drag these right here without having to go to File Merge every time. Okay, do you see that? I opened the File Manager, and I opened that download folder that way. If I was to do it the other way, like File and Merge, I would have to do one at a time, because once I merge one, it closes up, and I'd have to do another. All right, so let's see. Let's just imagine that we want to do, let's do Minnie here. So to do Minnie, I'm going to have to cut them apart, and I know that this needs to be traced, because when I double clicked on it, did you see those little squares that came up like that? Okay, I can get rid of him a little bit if I want to, but I'm just going to trace. So I'm going to come over here to the Trace panel, select the trace area, and trace around Minnie. And I can move this over a little bit if I want to. And I'll up the threshold a bit. So, and then I'm just going to say trace and detach. All right, so there she is. I've got Minnie here perfectly. So I can bring her right up here. Now, chances are I'm going to want to change the backing of this thing because, you know, she's not going to show up very well. Her ears won't or that kind of thing. What I did on some of mine was I clicked on this letter and I came over here to this paint palette. Hopefully y'all have done this before. Now, if you're going to send this to Cricut, you won't be able to send this pattern stuff there. You can make your own patterns over there, but you can do solid colors if you'd like change that to a solid, you know, green or something like that. Or a red or something like that, and then put her on something a different color. But I think I'm going to go ahead and use one of these gradients. Oops, I got to highlight it first and then choose the gradient. That's not what I want. There we go. I'll just use that one. It's bright, it's cheery. It's pretty obnoxious. If you want to change it, you go to advanced options and you can play with these little sliders down here to change things. Like I can add another slider in here and make it darker like that. Can get rid of this white. Okay, so I'll just leave it like that for now. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring her up here. Place her where I think I would like her. Now, if I'd like to make sure her eyes and things are going to be shown, I can if I want to make her a little bit bigger, even though some parts of her will be off the S. And I can, if I want to see exactly what's happening, come over here again to this panel. And with her selected, I can change her transparency. So I can see really pretty much where she's going to fit. You see that, how I can see, you know, right there, if I put her eye's going to end up in the middle where the S is not. So I want her face pretty much on there like that. Okay, so I can change her transparency back again. Whoops, with her selected, obviously. And change that back. So the only thing now I'm going to do is I'm going to grab both of these and come over here to the modify panel and say crop. And that looks pretty weird, right? And actually I didn't need to change the color of that S before. This is the one I'd want to change the color of. So I could go back again to the paint palette, come here to that. I'll just make it this green for the heck of it. And then I can bring this right over here behind. Till she fits in there perfectly. Now, one thing I might have wanted to do before I had her fit perfectly, and this is what I did on all of mine, was I did do an offset on this. So I'm going to come over here to the offset panel and say offset. I made it a small offset. I made it 0.5. Because I liked the way that looked. And I'll say, and I changed the color of it right here and now before I did anything else. And I made the line color be transparent like that. Then before I moved it again, I went ahead and grouped it. And now I can bring, I got to group her. Because she's in pieces. I've got to group her. Group. Okay, and now I can bring this over here. And make her fit perfectly. And if I need to adjust anything, I can use the arrows on my keyboard to adjust it. And now I can just say group, because the offset is with her now too. You see that, how easy that is? The only thing left I have to do is I want to make sure she's going to fit. And so what I did for all of my letters, I held down, I locked the lock, and I made the height. What did I make the height? I think I made them all, whoopsie. Well, let's see. I might have one over here and I can see. I think I made all of mine. Do I have any over here? I thought I did. Let's see. Oh, y'all. Well, I'll just make it 3.5. Again, you can make these any size that you think looks great on yours. I'm going to try it with 3.5. So I have the lock locked. I'm going to change my height to 3.5. 0.5, enter, and see how that fits. Okay, so I'm thinking that's a little too big because look, when my string goes through here, it's going to cover some of my letter. So let's try just a 3, enter. And I think 3 will work really well for all of my letters. If I wanted to, I could make it a 2.75 also. It depends on what you like, right? Okay, so what you're going to do now, like I said, you're going to do all of these together. They're simply cut files. You don't need to print and cut. These guys, on the other hand, will all be print and cut. So what you need to do is to come up here to your page setup and turn on your registration marks. And there you go. I also like to turn on my show cut and show print border. So then I know I can start putting these guys up here like this. So let's see, do we have any others that are finished? Well, I'll do one more for you guys so you can see. Let's do the letter C. So I'll just come over here and get a C. Type out the letter C, a capital, remember, again. Oh, it stayed with my coloring, but I don't really need that. Just make it any size I want it to be. Before I do anything else, I'll duplicate it by holding down my Alt, drag it over, and I'll just bring this little mini, and I'll just make her bigger. So again, I want to try to make it so her eyes and stuff are going to show. So I can, since she's behind, I can right click and bring her to the front. Oh, and look, what I need to do really is to, I need to trace her first, because if I just go like this and say crop, we're going to end up with some of that white from the box showing through. You see that, how it doesn't let the green show? So what I should have done was I should have traced her first. So I'm going to come over here to the trace panel, to the trace panel, and select the trace area. And I'm going to up my offset and just say trace and detach. This part I can simply get rid of. I could just totally exit out. And whoops, I shouldn't have had it on top of that C when I did it. Oh my gosh, you guys. That's the beauty of being live-ish. Because I'm not going to fix any of this. So I need to take that off of there because it actually traced both things. I just want to trace this. Up my threshold. Trace and detach. Okay, there she is. I can get rid of this. Okay, notice something that's happened on this one. Can you see that I did not get the white of her outfit? So let's go back one more time. This is a good one, you guys, for you to see. So let's scroll in and try to figure out why that white was not encapsulated in my trace all. So, or trace and detach. What I'm going to do is I'm going to up my threshold some more because now it looks like all these lines are solid now, so I should be able to trace and detach. If I go back, you can see there's openings here. If my trace or my threshold is not up high enough, there are openings there. This time it should work. So let's check. Yeah, that time it worked perfectly, and now we can get rid of this piece. I don't need it. I can actually delete it. All right, so now we have this one, and again what we can do is click on her and come up here to this color panel, the fill panel, and change her transparency because we want to see where's the best place we can put her that we'll see a lot of her face so that we can recognize her. And her ears, I think it looks pretty good right like that. So I can change her threshold again by clicking on her and bring it back down if I like so I don't get confused. Grab both of these things and then say, and I'm a little bit nervous because you see how far down this is coming? That's because I failed to go ahead and convert this to a path. But let's see if it works. Let's just see what happens when I say crop. I mean crop, sorry. Crop. All right, see what happens when I say crop. It's not going to work right. So what I need to do is I'm going to delete this C. So if this happens to you, you will know why. The first thing you have to do when you have your letter, notice when I click on this, all this extra junk around here that's selected. We don't want that. We can right click on this letter and say convert to path, and now it's perfect. Now I can hold down my Alt key and drag this C over and do the same thing again that I just did with Minnie. I can click on her, come up here to this paint palette and change the transparency. Make sure to move her over where I think I kind of like her. And I can make her transparency go back. And now watch what happens when we come over here to the Modify panel and say crop. Now that's what we want, right? So if you get what I got, look at this tutorial again and you're going to see where you went wrong. All right, before I move anything, these are two different pieces. I'm going to group them. I can bring this guy over here now if I want to, or I could go ahead and offset him first. Offset. Remember, I'm making all the offsets exactly the same so that they look nice. Okay, so it's going to be 0.05, and I'm going to change its color here before I click off. And I'm going to remove the line color, make it transparent. And then again, before I move anywhere, I've got to right click and group both of these things together. Now, right click, send it to the back. And now we have our beautiful Minnie. Okay, the only thing is, I'm going to group it. Remember, we made this 3 inches tall. So we're also going to make this one 3 inches tall. The lock is locked. Make it 3, hit enter, and that's perfect. So let's bring one of these over here. Let's see, here's this one's going to be like this. And I pop dotted mine up so they look cute. And well, what I can do is just hold down my Alt and make another one of these, send it to the back, and that's what this one will look like. So they're super cute. I think it turns out adorable. What I used, and I'm going to show you right now, is how I put it together, is something that I got from the Dollar Tree. Something else I might also do on mine before I send it to my daughter or my grandkids is to put some stickles on it, some gold stickles, maybe down here at the point. But anyway, follow me to my desktop now and let me show you how you do put it together. Okay, I've cut out everything, and some of the things I'm going to use is this foam tape that I get from the Dollar Tree. I'm also using this diamond wrap, and that's what I put in between each one. And I also got this from the Dollar Tree, and it comes in lots of different colors, if you can find it. Well, this is what it looks like. Okay, and it's usually 3 in a row, so I just took scissors because all I wanted was one strand, and I took scissors and cut in between. Okay, so here's this, and here's my letter C. I just did one to show you. And so the first thing, as I said, that you can do is easily fold this in half, because you just match up this point right here. And once the point is matched up, just hold on to it. And then I just took my bone folder and kind of poked in here a little bit on both sides to just get it starting to fold. And I just folded it down just like that. Then just used my bone folder to give it a nice crease like that. All right, so the next thing I did then was just pop dotted this up using these pop dots that are from the Dollar Tree. Just stuck these things on here. And I think this is a super cute thing to do. And it would be, you know what, if you're not ready to decorate for Christmas yet, you could do this for Thanksgiving. You could make a cute banner like this for somebody's birthday, for New Year's Eve, anytime. Just anytime banners are cute. A fall banner, anything to decorate. your home a little bit. Now, I thought I had scissors right here. I wonder if I can tear. I sure can. I didn't have scissors right by me, and that worked just fine. So, yeah, that's too big. Let me rip off a little bit more. Probably don't need to use these many pop darts, and you see that it's going over a little bit. If my scissors were right here, I would cut that little tippy thing right off of there that's on there, but not that big of a deal. So you can see how easy this is to make these, right? I love doing things digitally with my Silhouette software for any machine. And don't forget, I hope you all have been watching the Digi Chicks in our digital club, Digi Club, where we just use digital files, digital stamps, because it's so much more inexpensive to use those. And I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people that are having some hard time with money right now. And if you have to buy the stamp and the die cut, it can get quite costly. But the Digi Chicks will teach you how you can just use a Digi stamp, add an offset to it, and cut it. You don't even need to buy ever the die cuts again. You can make your own cuts. So, again, I hope that you like this that I showed today, and that you'll join us on our Facebook group if you like making things like this and you'd like to share what you've made. We'd love to see it. I thank you so much for joining me today. Check out my links below. We have Patreon, we have Facebook groups. It's just having a lot of fun learning new things and just enjoying each other's company in all of our groups. So again, thanks for joining me. I'll see y'all again soon. Bye-bye.